Well, almost everybody who plays any old school game, anybody who's actually an old schooler will definitely recognize the book I'm showing you right here. This is the Dungeon Master's Guide by E. Gary Gygax, published 1979. This is for the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons game, as you can see. It has the famous cover of the Efreet doing battle with the Adventuring Company. You can see very well who the adventuring company is here. Get a very good sense, and of course, this is taking place in some palace within the city of Brass in and beyond. You can see the oil sea that is on fire. You can see that the city of Brass floats above it ethereally. You can see the little oval here tells you what is within, in case you didn't know already. It certainly would have been necessary or helpful back in the day. You can see there's a little wear and tear on this one. This one's the oldest one I have, but it is not the one I first was purchased. You can see it's a little roughed up, and you can see by the wizard symbol there, the TSR Games, the Game Wizards logo. Uh, Give you a rough idea that came out. This is one of the earlier printings of this, and of course with the original cover. Here's Darlene's unicorn, the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. It says reference work, all this stuff, and you see the credits here for the artists and all the rest, and contents. The foreword here by Mr. Gygax and the late Mr. Gygax, and here the description of the cover. Just off screen, it says the book cover painting shows the encounter between three adventurers and an Efreet on the elemental plane of fire. Fabled city of Brass can be seen floating over the flame-swept sea of oil. And instead of just flipping through, I'm sure that almost everybody here knows this book. Almost anybody who's watching at least knows this book. At bare minimum, know it by reputation. And I just remember having this book and really pouring through it as a child. And I still kept it around even as I was running 3rd edition and 3.5. So, source of inspiration. I never ran 4th edition. I never ran 5th edition. I played some 5th edition. I have the rules. Not a huge fan. In many ways, I like it better than 4th and 5th edition. I definitely like it better than 4th. I did not think much of 4th, but 4th and 3rd edition, I should say, and 3.5 especially got on my nerves. But there are some areas in here that have been maligned in the past. The monsters as player characters is often brought up here as a description. As you can see, a player will ask to play some sort of a monster, and you're virtually on your own with regard to monsters as player characters. I'm quoting here. It's on the bottom paragraph, just off the page. The why no you have advice as to why they are not featured. Why no details of monster character classes are given herein, and this is an important moment. This is not one I necessarily want to focus on for the bulk of this, but I often flip through these and don't give a great deal of focus to any particular rules. I've been giving very much glosses over the books I've listed, and this time I want to talk about some of the stuff in here, And as I flip through and head towards the area I really want to talk about, the area of I want to talk about, I just wanted to want to show, for those who do not know what this book is like, have not experienced it, just showing you some of the excellent pages of this book. But closer to the back is where I want to be. These are the magic item charts, and I did a little video on the 3 Encyclopedia Magica, which were published for second edition, but they had magic items from every edition of Dungeons and Dragons up to the point that those books were published. And to me, some of the best flavor of any of these works is in this. I always like this little joke here at the bottom. Either it allows Magic User to throw various Bigby's hands, or it's a +2 black back scratcher. I think that's funny. But the section that really gets me here are 2 sections I'm going to talk about. I believe I may have flipped past the potion miscibility table. Now that is a classic bit of old school gaming. It tells you what happens if you try to combine two potions at the same time. That is, if you try consuming 2 at the same time. Magical mixtures of compounds which combine potions are not always compatible. You must test the miscibility of potions whenever 2 potions are actually intermingled, or a potion is consumed by a creature while another such liquid is already consumed and still consumed is still when a potion when such a liquid already consumed is still in effect. So this little chart is an awfully fun little thing. You can see over here what happens. Something as bad as an explosion, you take internal damage. Or you roll a double lot and you get a discovery, and everything in between miscibility and immiscibility. Compatible results. It is one of the truly fun little things in here, and it's just how much. There's nothing, as far as I know, there's nothing like this in even in other OSR games that were done by, or I shouldn't say OSR games. Even I don't think this is in Basic or Expert and BX. I don't think it's in BECME either. But someone who knows those systems better than me might say that. But I know that that this is one of those things that is a remnant of the old school way of doing things, and it is carried forward in OSR to some degree. But one of the big things too that I want to point out here are when we get to the artifacts section, and how the artifacts inspired me to love this game. The artifacts, which will be coming up here quickly, artifacts and relics, which you will see here. That's where it begins. Table 3E, special, notes regarding artifacts and relics. The artifacts and relics were very much a big inspiration to everyone who played AD&D. It definitely was a big part of inspiration. And they managed to be inspiring in relatively short descriptions. I will quote from the Codex of Infinite Planes description. Hopefully you can read it fairly well here. In the distant past, high wizard priest of the Isle of Woe, now sunken beneath the waters of Near Dive, in the world of Greyhawk, discovered this work and used arcane power to dominate the neighboring states. But legend also has it that these same powers eventually brought doom to the mage priest and his tyrannical domain. The archmage Tzunk, scribed the following fragment prior to his strange disappearance. And this is just classic of the kind of flavor text that old Gary could produce. And the two strong slaves lifted the codex from the back of the beast, whereupon I commanded the brazen portals to be brought low, and they were wrenched from their hinges and rang upon the stone. The Efreet howled in fear and fled when I caused the pages to be read, and the beast passed into the city of brass. Now was I, Zunk, master of the plain of molten skies. With sure hand I closed Yagrax's tome, the codex, that is, dreading to, and then it ends there. That is a wonderful little bit of flavor text, and that is one of those things. That is a fairly short bit of prose to get you in the mood for gaming back when you were a kid. Back when I was a kid, very much the same with the Eye of Vecna, the Hand of Vecna, which got brought up, in the name Vecna became somewhat famous recently from a show I'm not a fan of, but you get the Machine of Loom the Mad. You get, which I always thought, the Machine of Loom the Mad particularly, strange device, long forgot by gods, long forgotten and survived in the eons since their passing. It is almost it and the Mighty Servant of Luco are almost techno-magical devices. Again, I'm a very big fan of the sort of where does magic end and technology begin. The techno-magic and the magitech is something that I'm very much a fan of. And the artifacts really sold, at least to me, really sold the sort of flavor of role-playing games. It made me want to have them in my game. It made me want to play and use them. The Throne of the Gods. The fact they also had random power so that no two DMs had the same artifacts in their game. It was a very interesting design choice, and I thought was extremely. I thought it was an extremely good idea at the time. I think it's still a good idea. It's one thing to have, your, for example, the sword of +3 frost brand, +6 versus fire using creatures, and all fire brands were mostly the same. Or frost brands are mostly the same. But the orbs of Dragonkind, or each individual orb has its own special, unique powers. I always loved that. I always thought that was a good idea. The other thing, too, is the artifacts were supposed to be mysterious, powerful, even things of lost magical technology. The creating of these things no longer is possible. Anyway, just wanted to talk about that a little bit. People, the Mighty Servant of Luco, For example, just those who are most knowledgeable regarding the ancient artifacts believe that the device is the same manufacturer as the Machine of Lum. The Mighty Servant, the famous General Luke O, at least that's how I pronounce it, is a towering automaton of crystal, unknown metals, and strange fibrous materials over 9 feet tall, 6 feet deep, and some 4.5 feet in width. Inside is a compartment suitable for holding 2 man-sized creatures, and there's a space for 4 to 5 others to sit outside. If the possessor knows the proper command phrases, he or she can use the Mighty Servant as a transportation mode, magical attack device, or fighting machine. It's just wonderful. It's a mech, It's a Robotech, BattleTech, fighting machine in D&D. It's unique. It's not meant to be something that could be mass-produced and duplicated. It's not meant to, so that the game suddenly transforms into a game of high technology or techno magic, but as a curiosity and as to fall into the hands of the players and make these give the players a gigantic boost in power, perhaps, but not to completely unbalance the entire setting. So that once if the machine of Malum the Mad or the Mighty Servant of Luco are destroyed, then they're out of the game forever. Or perhaps, as is mentioned in the description of the machine, its destruction just merely means it's pushed forward or backwards in time, which is an interesting option, so they can show back up later on in your campaign if you really want to let your players let a different group of players have it in the same continuity, or as a different group of characters have it in the same continuity. These things were extremely inspirational to me as a game master, as a player, as a teenager, as a preteen, as an adolescent, as a child. And they remain so even now, even if I've never used all of these items. I had the hand and eye of Vecna in one campaign pop up. I know I had the invulnerable coat of Arnd show up and the Ring of Gax. But that's about it. I never had Heward's Mystical Oregon show up. I've never had. I don't think I ever had the Sword of Kos. The Codex of Infinite Planes. The Codex of Infinite Planes does sound like one that I would very much like to have. The Axe of the Dwarvish Lords. Rod of 7 Parts. Throne of the Gods. These are all. Even the Wand of Orcus I've never really had in a campaign, but they were inspiration. I created artifacts like them on my own. I always thought that to some degree the artifacts could sometimes be had a little too harsh downsides, that some of the side effect powers were too much. But I did like the idea of the possible destruction of artifacts methods. Again, this is a very how should I put this? A very inspirational and very much a kind of adding a narrative feature to a exploration game. I loved. And you can even have I've had players look up ways to destroy artifacts, and that has appeared in my campaign more than actually these artifacts. I've had players look for ways to destroy them when they've been in the hands of evildoers, especially things like the Hand and Eye of Vecna. Anyway, That's just a little something I wanted to talk about. A little focus on in this game, in this book, and a little praise for Gary Gygax's work. That how many small things he did that worked so well, and why this is such a little masterpiece, despite the fact that it has, you know, pages and pages of just charts and stuff near the end. It has many hundreds of pages of these sort of charts, but for the most part, almost everything in here, even these charts, are very useful to the game. Gary was a expert game master, and he put a lot of advice into this book, and I don't care what version of old school Dungeons and Dragons you run, whether it's a TSR version or it's one of the newer OSR games, you can gain a lot from reading this book. And last, I just want to, since I put out a video just recently about the Appendix N, for those who did not know what Appendix N was, I wanted to show. I just wanted to show what the Appendix N. Here it is, in its entirety. The inspirational reading, Appendix N. You can see Lord Dunsany's name right there. Probably someone who also deserves some mention. I do love Dunsany. Big influence on H.P. Lovecraft. And of the people on this list who I've never read Bellairs. I've never read P.J. Farmer. I've never read Fletcher Pratt, Margaret St. Clair, Stanley Weinbaum, Jack Williamson. But almost everybody else on this list, I've read at least one story by them, and for some of them, such as Lord Dunsany, Robert E. Howard, Fritz Leiber, H.P. Lovecraft, Michael Moorcock, Andre Norton, Fred Saberhagen, J.R.R. Tolkien, Jack Vance, and Roger Zelazny. I have read a lot of stuff by those people, and this is still anyway. I highly recommend anyone who can getting this, and of course, it is available on PDF at drive-through, and I would definitely recommend, if you do not yet have a copy, you just happen to be looking whether or not to go into OSR. Maybe because the things like OSE or even OSRIC are more accessible, I would definitely not ignore this book just because it is a little denser and requires a little effort to read. It is really, I think, somewhat overrated in terms of the complexity and difficulty of reading it. Its organization, just because its organizational structure is not perfect, does not change the fact that it is still a pretty wonderfully written book and inspirational. This would be on the Appendix N of my own personal Appendix N for anyone running fantasy role-playing games, especially of the old school variety. Even if I was running RuneQuest, I would probably want to have a copy of the Dungeon Master's Guide, and probably the Player's Handbook too. Player's Handbook is probably the second best book, and it's only second best because it isn't quite as it is more narrowly focused on the player's experience. Anyway, I think that's enough. I think I've spoken long enough about this particular work. I don't think I have too much new to add about this. I don't have any anything about the history of it, or what Gary was doing when in 1979 when he was writing this, 1978, 1979. I'm not a historian of this game. I only know what is practical to know. I am not uh, um, I'm not an archivist, a sage. I am a practical game master, dungeon master, and I only you I know what I know, and I know what I use, and this can't come more highly recommended to anyone getting into OSR or old school gaming in general. And that's enough for now.